I've been up at my parents' lake house for the 4th of July weekend and spent a little extra time, so it's time to head back to Chicago. It's always sad having to say goodbye. One last look at the lake as I pull out and get on the road. So we had a really great time, and if it has to rain, at least it's raining on the day that I'm driving back to Chicago. So we had very, very nice weather for the duration of the time we were there, and we got to do a lot of things and just visit with my family, visit with our friends, and there was a lot of people around. My parents bought the house when I was 9 months old. So I say, I really grew up in two places. I grew up in Chicago and I grew up here in southeastern Wisconsin. And we always were between the two. So I kind of got the best of both because I had the city, suburban life and the country life. And it's a really pretty drive here through the country, even though it's raining and even though it's kind of a crappy day. It's still nice to look out and not see tons of traffic and just get a pretty view, really, of the trees and the farms and all kinds of nature that you pass by. It was kind of a somber day because that was the day that the shooting took place in suburban Chicago, Highland Park, and I know that it's all over the news right now about the shooting at the 4th of July parade. And Highland Park is a North Shore suburb of Chicago, and one that is an affluent area, probably one of the least places you expect something like that to happen, and it happens there, and it can happen anywhere, and it does strike close to home because my sister lives very near there. Metropolitan Chicago has an almost 10 million population. If you're not familiar with metropolitan Chicago, once you're driving through there, one municipality, one town, one village, one city just goes right into the next. There are no separation. There's no, borders other than you're familiar with the area or you see the sign that says the town you're entering. It's sort of like maybe like Long Island, if you're familiar, Long Island, New York, or something like that. So very heavily populated, and despite the fact that towns and villages and everything might not have a huge population in of their boundaries, they are just part of a much larger metropolitan area that's a big metropolis. So they kind of talked about Highland Park as being like a small town or whatever, but it's really more like a neighborhood, I would say, as a lot of the suburbs are. I think there's over 200 suburbs in the metropolitan area. So sometimes they talk about ones and you're not even 100% sure where that is. And I've lived there my whole life. So, but very, very sad. My sister is a musician, a classically trained musician, and she does all sorts of things besides her classical work. She's a orchestra conductor, and she's actually in a rock band on the side for fun, and does all kinds of things. And she definitely has gigs that she performs for various events and things. And, this could have very easily been an event that she would have been at. She's in that area and does things all the time. So as a matter of fact, she was there at the lake with her family over this weekend, and she headed back early to attend an event in a neighboring suburb to Highland Park. And she was scheduled to perform. And of course, that parade took place at 10 a.m. or something like that. So hers wasn't scheduled until the evening. And all of the local parades and things were canceled, which was a wise decision because at that point the gunman hadn't yet been apprehended, and so I'm sure the fear was that there could either be additional attacks if that person was still on the loose, or even copycat type situations. You never know, and who would want to go? And honestly, after something like that happens in practically in your own backyard, it's very sad because, who even wants to go to public things like that anymore? When we're getting ready for the holidays and things like that, my mom was always like, we don't need gifts. I don't want you guys even having to go to a mall. Don't go, we don't need anything. And I kind of understand that sentiment because honestly, if you can order it online, do it. Otherwise, who needs it? And I mean, yeah, you don't feel safe going to large public venues anymore, whether they be concert venues or things like this, parades, or even shopping malls, because how many attacks and shootings have there been? I think they said there's been 300 so far this year, or since the pandemic started. I thought they said this year, which seems absolutely astounding. But unfortunately, this was always an American phenomenon, and it appears that it's unbelievable to say, catching on in popularity. I think there was a shopping mall shooting in Norway too. So they kind of say, as goes America, so goes the rest of the world. And what a horrible, horrible thing to emulate. But I don't know what the answer is to that because, I am not one that says ban all guns. I do believe they do serve a purpose, and that's only because, having been the victim of a crime, you do have a sense of security owning a weapon. But obviously, anyone that does needs to be very well trained and extremely careful with where they keep their weapons. And years ago, I was in my home and my neighbor called me in the middle of the night and said, "What's going on?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "There's police all over your front lawn and they have somebody down on the ground on your doorstep." And I was like, "You're gotta be kidding me." I had absolutely no idea. I was sound asleep. And they had apprehended someone, and I don't know, he was trying to gonna break into my home. If he was just running, but unfortunately these kinds of crimes happen all the time. My grandmother, who was 91, I believe, when she passed away, she was the victim of a push-in burglary, and in a beautiful neighborhood, very affluent, and opened the door in the middle of the afternoon, and they pushed in and came in and burglarized, and thankfully she wasn't hurt. But at 91 years old, what in the world can you possibly do to defend yourself? Now, they cut the phone line so she couldn't call for help when they did leave, and who knows, money and jewelry and things like that is what they're after. But a lot of crime happens. There's always a lot of burglaries. And I don't know what the answer is, but it's just devastatingly sad to hear all of these shootings and deaths. And I think now they said, I heard the latest today, which is Tuesday, and that there was 7 killed. So, anyways, on to happier things. So I hope you all had a really nice holiday, even if it was just having extra time to relax. That was just as good. If you work and you had the day off and got to have an extended weekend, that's worth it, We don't get enough of them. I certainly don't, so cherish them as they come. And that's why I try to get away, even though when it's hard, and you always have things you have to do, and it's a hassle to have to drive and to have to pack and all that. Once you arrive at your destination, you don't ever regret having gone. So I did a lot of things with my niece and nephew. I took my nephew out tubing behind the boat, and we took several boat rides, and we grilled, and we went to a party in the neighborhood, and they have a little, very little parade in our community there that's just amongst the neighborhood. And it was very, very small town and just cute to watch. So throw candy and the kids like that. So just relax and spend time with family, So it's nice to go during the major, summer holidays, especially because that's when I see so many people I grew up with. And, I had one of my friends that, I grew up with. His parents have a lake house next to my parents. And so I've known these people my whole life. And he lives in San Diego and, comes back into town maybe once a year, So another couple of friends from North Carolina and other people from Milwaukee and Texas. We have another neighbor that lives in Houston, and they come for the summer and stay at their home and just, enjoy being with good people, There's not enough of them in the world, so they're there. You just have to find them, and it's not always easy, but enjoy the time you have with your loved ones, And it's a good reminder, tell your loved ones that you love them, You never know what tomorrow brings, right? And that's sort of a somber reminder with what happened. Here these people were just out enjoying a wholesome American tradition, a July 4th parade in their suburban town, and their lives were taken from them or changed forever. So let's hope that this awful phenomenon will end at some point. I don't know what changed in our society that people started behaving this way, but there's so much division and so much animosity and hatred, and you have to be tolerant of other ideas. I think that's kind of a big part of it too. Now everything is so divided that if someone thinks differently, has a different opinion, has a different lifestyle, religion, whatever, it's like they can't ever find any common ground with anyone that isn't 100% in the same thought space as them. But you know what? People are entitled to have their own opinions on matters. And that, in and of itself, doesn't negate the ability to have a friendship with someone. You don't have to agree on everything, and other people are entitled to their opinion. Just don't discuss those topics. That's all, And if you know that it's a sore subject or you sense that there's a difference there, you just don't talk about it. It's like, didn't anybody's parents teach them that anymore? That you don't have to agree on everything, but doesn't make the other person wrong. You can have your opinion and I can have mine. And if we disagree on a matter, just don't talk about that subject anymore. My mother always said, there's certain things you don't talk about in polite company. because there are topics that are so polarizing, right? I mean, you'd probably be best to leave off politics altogether. But if someone is of a different political persuasion, I don't have any problem with that, because I always say we absolutely need both parties in this nation, because when one party gets into power, they go all the way in one direction, and then another party comes into power and pulls it back all the way the other direction, and you end up with a happy, happy, but a midpoint at least. And there is a give and a take, a push and a pull, and a yin and a yang. And we need that, because imagine if there was only one party, if we were all to only be under one political system, everything would pull in completely in that one direction. And that is definitely not what our nation was founded on. So just be more tolerant of other ideas. And, if you find that even, with businesses or something, oh my God, they supported, a cause or something, and it's a cause that you don't like or whatever, that doesn't mean, that they're entitled to that, if that's what they choose. And you're entitled to not shop there, but you're not necessarily entitled to make up things and say, defamatory things. They're allowed to exist too. So, just be more tolerant in general, I think. That's the answer. And try not to be so self-righteous in your convictions. Understand that other people can have their opinion too. And just, I always say you don't need to discuss those kind of things. You can handle those things in the polling booth, and that is 100% private and personal. And that keeps the peace, especially amongst friends, because who wants to argue with friends or family members and have that kind of strife when there's so much about people that is good, and so many areas of common ground that you can find if you just socially, at least, keep away from the volatile subjects. So we don't know what in the world that individual who opened fire at this event was trying to do, or what he was upset about. You can't make logic out of someone that's illogical. And I mean, it's anyone that would go to any even possible lengths like that is an absolute animal. And there's been so many of them. So we're just glad that they have been apprehended, and now the legal system will handle that situation. So at any rate, I just wanted to wish everybody a really happy Independence Day. I know it's already passed, but I hope you have a happy and healthy summer, because it is so short, especially if you are in the Midwest or Northeast, or any of these upper parts of our nation that enjoys summer for such a short period of time. It's like, now is the time. Embrace it. Do things. Get out and enjoy it. So I don't know that I'll be taking a true summer vacation, so to speak, but I will definitely be spending weekends, and hopefully long weekends, there at my parents' lake house. And who knows, maybe I'll spend even a week if my sister and brother-in-law, niece and nephew are able to find the time. I definitely would love to enjoy time together with them because, the kids grow up really fast, and before you know it, they are going to be all grown up. So it's nice to do it now when you can. Off to the left, you can see a little bit of a rainbow. Thanks for joining me on my car ride home. If you would, please like the video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, it's not too late. If you have, welcome to the family. I love you for watching.